Hello everyone, good afternoon. So we are continuing the lecture on fossils, and yesterday we have completed Homo erectus. Okay, Homo erectus, right? So now we are going to proceed to Neanderthals. Before that, I'll be talking about the cultural features and phylogenetic status of Homo erectus. Okay, these are the two things which I'm going to discuss. So we are left with two fossils. One is with respect to Neanderthals, other is Homo sapiens. So these two fossils, if we are done, that means we are done with 1.6. Okay. So any doubts in yesterday's class? Any of you, any doubts in yesterday's class? Bone heavy ridges, ridges are heavy. Okay. Right. So coming to the cultural features, yesterday I have already explained what are the cultural features that they have started making tools, that too hand access. So what were the previous tools that are present, and now along with those previous tools, now you have got hand access, right? So this is what they're talking about, that they settled in various regions and there is regional differences. We have seen already, we have seen with respect to Asia, we have seen with respect to Africa, we have seen with respect to Europe, there is regional differences, and at different places they have started using different kinds of tools. Okay, so large stone tools with flakes is noticed, and that too I told you that they have started refining the tools, right? Instead of one face, that is single face, they have started doing bifacial hand access also, right? Yesterday I showed you, right? So hand access has been seen, right? And animal hide clothing, how they used to use the clothing? Using the animal skin. At that point of time, either they should use the leaves or animal skin. Okay, leaves get dry anyway, so the only option they had was animal hide clothing. Okay, so especially by population living in the cooler European regions, they used to use this. So this is with respect to their cultural significance. I told you they were the ones to use with the fire, use the fire. So other example also we'll see. But coming to the phylogenetic status, there are people, okay, first you need to know the names, Lee Gross Clark and John Napier. See, Lee Gross Clark, where did we read about him? We have done it previously, right? Primates, characteristics of primates, he was the one who was talking about, right? So Clark, along with Napier, he analyzed the fossils and tried to ascertain the phylogenetic position. So where they can be placed in this evolutionary tree, how their evolution happened. Okay, so there, by giving the time period as 1.8 to 0.2 million years ago, okay, they concluded that they were well adapted group with a prolonged anatomical and cultural stability. So you can see here, Afarensis, Africanus, Gurhi, it gave rise to Homo habilis, here Rudolfensis, and then Homo ergaster, then Homo erectus. It got extinct. They did not accept that it got evolved into Homo sapiens. Okay, so they believed that Homo erectus got extinct in the process of evolution, this species. There is one more phylogenetic status given by Philbeam and others, who analyze the tools and rest of the things that we have seen, that technology, cranial capacity. By seeing all these things, they try to put erectus in the line of Homo sapiens, that they believe that Homo sapiens evolved from Homo erectus. Is it clear? The difference between two phylogenetic status that they are trying to talk about. One is that they don't believe that Homo erectus evolved into Homo sapiens. Other, they believe it, that Homo erectus evolved into Homo sapiens. Right. Next, coming to cultural achievements, I have mentioned it in bit detail. One is fire, then is hunting. Then in some places of China, what they have noticed is that in the skull you have foramen magnum that is expanded the area. So they believed that cannibalism might have been practiced. Maybe it's ritual. Okay, so maybe it's for ritual purpose or on regular basis. It's not clear, but generally they say that it's a ritualistic event. It might be a ritualistic event. So that is with respect to cultural achievement. Okay, tool making, again, like I told you, first is old one. Old one tool tradition is that chopping tools, which we have seen with respect to Homo habilis, right? Now you have hand axes. Hand axes have two types, that is Abelian, Acheulean. Abelian means the hand axes are not refined, it is crude, whereas Acheulean is refined and it is bifacial. So here you have biface core tool or hand axe. These are the tool making traditions which they further classified it. Then coming to the next fossil, Neanderthal. So some people call it Neanderthal, and some people, after seeing their features, they call it Homo sapiens Neanderthal. Homo Neanderthals or Homo sapien Neanderthal. So modern scientists call it Homo sapien Neanderthals because they believe that Homo sapiens and Neanderthals evolved together because there is interbreeding between them, and henceforth it is Homo sapiens Neanderthals. Time period 1,50,000 years to till 25,000 years. Where did they present? Europe, Asia, and North America. That too in the northern regions. Okay, so they were residing in the topmost regions, topmost latitudes. So you can notice only till the Mediterranean Sea their movement. Beyond that, hardly one or two places you can notice their presence. But though they have extended from all the continents, okay, Europe, Asia, North America, though they are present in all the continents, still in any place you don't notice the downward movement of these people. That means it is believed that they are more adapted to the cold climatic conditions. So you can see the environment conditions. And one more thing I told you, that there were glaciation ages and at the same time interglacial periods also. During the glacial ages, it was very cold, and interglacial it was little warm. So they survived different glacial interglacial period, and 40,000 years ago that was the last glacial period we noticed, and at that period only you can see that Neanderthals being present. Okay, so before that they lived the warm place also, so warm kind of environment, but then later on they have survived the cold environment as well. But the problem was that they were more adapted to the cold. So now you can see this Neanderthal man time period and their decline. So they lived almost around 25,000 years ago in different places. The first discovery from the rock Gibraltar in 1848, okay, and then in 1956 it was rediscovered at Neanderthal Valley in Germany. Neanderthal Valley is a place. So all the names that we are giving is based on the places, right? You can understand from here that though first discovery happened in 1848, but based on the later discovery, the naming was given. Should we classify Neanderthal into two varieties, classical and progressive? Should we classify? This was the question that was asked 2 years ago. At that point of time, how to write an answer? Many people are confused within the examination. Ernst A. Houghton, he is the one who classifies it. And when he is asked the reason for its classification is that he says it is important for us to understand the differences between the fossils based on morphology and try to understand whether they are completely two different genus or they belong to single species. It is not clear because you have the differences. It is important for us to study further by classifying it so that we get a better idea regarding the phylogenetic status. If you don't classify and you pull it under one, what happens because of that? You may not able to differentiate evolution of further species from the existing ones. So in order to make it clear with respect to phylogenetic status, so he says that it would be easy because further studies has to be done. If they have to verify it is one or is it two altogether. Okay, so Homo neanderthal, is it divided into classical, is it divided into progressive? It depends again on the studies that would come up in the future, like whether we should divide it into two or not. But based on the morphological features, for the convenience of the study, it is better to divide it into two. Okay, and this has been even accepted by the Ernst A. Houghton. So this is classical and progressive. Classical, progressive, it is given based on the findings of the fossils in a particular area. Okay, so law Chapelle-Auxon's is the place in France. So in those area you find a group of fossils, all those are placed under the classical ones, and in the west you find at Caramel, that is placed under the Mount Caramel, that is placed under the progressive ones. So based on the area where the fossils are found and the varieties has been classified. Okay, so all the classical type you found near the Chapelle-Auxon's, and all the progressive one you have found near the Caramel one. So based on that they try to classify. So these are all classical type varieties. Then here at Mount Caramel at Tabun, okay, this is in Israel, discovered in 1931-32, and Skull at Mount Carmel. So see, this is also the name of the place. Don't think it is. skull. Right. So I gave you in detail that what are the places they are found. So the new tool technology you'll notice here, that is Mousterian tool technology. So it is based on the place where the tools have been found, that is Lemosterian. So you found the fossils here as well. The distinctive features were apparent in the they were present in the fossil, and at the same time these characteristics were genetic in nature. It's not because it have developed in one generation. And you have other fossils also. You can just go through, not that important, but this is important. Anil, what do you understand from this? Can you explain? Just read it and try to explain it. Right? What happened was that there was old man skull that was found, and initially it was thought that there is some deformation in the leg, and it was believed that maybe the species itself was like that, but later on it has been understood that it is because of some problem that one has faced, that is osteoarthritis. Arthritis, we know, right? So because of that problem there is some deformity, and in other fossils it's not noticed. And at the same time, what's understood is that the fossil was of an old man, and just before his death he was being taken care by the people in order to survive further. So that means the people are caring for each other, the emotional aspect has got developed. And at the same time they noticed some of the features like heavy brow ridges, protruding mid face is protruding, and receding forehead. You don't have a flat forehead, you have receding forehead, and the skull shows the low. See, forehead is not present at an height, like you can see that it is at the lower level, okay, along with receding, strong, heavy brow ridges, right? So these are the features, and you can see most of the long bones of his arms and legs has been found, and some of the smaller bones have been found. So this is law chapel ox saints, or the classical variety. Here what you need to understand, there has been found some fossils. What has been found, like arms, leg bones, and some other bones have been found with respect to rib, and from there they tried to find out what exactly has happened. So they found out that this was of an old man, okay. So old man was suffering from arthritis, osteoarthritis, and next thing is that he was taken care. So these all things were studied and concluded from the given one. And you need to see that why they were saying that he was old man, by seeing the gums of the teeth, and most of the teeth has been, several teeth has been lost. So now coming to the next variety, that is Mount Caramel. So you can just go through it. These are the caves present in Israel. All you need to do is that remember some of the names, especially Tabun, and you will be noticing some of other names such as Natufian. So which shows the transition from Paleolithic to Neolithic. Okay, so just know that Tabun cave, which is containing the burial of a female dating of 1,20,000 years. So one of the most ancient human skeletal remains found in Israel. Right. And then I told you one more place where the fossils of Neanderthal has been found, that is skull. So here 14 skeletons were found. You need to just have an idea what all has been found. Okay. So archaic type of Homo sapiens. Archaic type means older version of Homo sapiens has been found here. Again, the theory of Homo sapiens, whether Neanderthal should be called as Homo sapien Neanderthals or Neanderthal man, or did Homo sapiens evolve from Neanderthals or they diverged themselves? Okay, so that was a question, and it is still, it's being mongered. You can see here that the theory says that Homo sapiens did not develop from Neanderthals, but both lived contemporarily during a particular period. So this, they lived contemporarily. This is very clearly evident from the DNA. Genetic evidence, when we see that most of the people in various places except in Africa, you notice that Neanderthal DNA of 3 to 4% in their genes. Okay, so sorry, in their what do you call, in their genetic material. So 3 to 4% of Neanderthal DNA is present. That means sometime in the back there was mating between the two. The interaction between interbreeding has happened. So there is other cave. See, these are all for extra information. Don't try to mug up all those things, and it's not possible for you to write anyway. Even if you try to remember also, by the time you remember Neanderthal, you'll forget Homo erectus. So don't make efforts in remembering everything, just for your idea. Where all did we find the fossils? Tomorrow, if they give you that name, you should know that, okay, at this place, it is related to the Neanderthal, and we have to write the features of Neanderthal. So now this is the classification of, sorry, differentiation of classical and progressive. You can see the features, that cranial capacity difference, 1600 and 1400. Skull, it is large and more long in the progressive. So progressive one is more closer to the humans. Okay, so because of that reason only we have called it progressive, because features are more closer to humans. But cranial capacity is high in classical. I told you why, despite having larger brains, they are not intelligent. The reason is the development of the posterior part of the brain, which is not the intelligent area. Next, cephalic index, it is higher here. Cephalic index, I think you are not aware, right? Cephalic index is nothing but they measure the breadth and length of the skull, and they'll take the ratio, that is called as cephalic index. This is facial index. If you take the width and height, then you measure, that is facial index. And next, supraorbital ridges, they are large and continuous. Okay, here they are large and there is tendency to separate in the middle. Okay, so large and continuous, large and separation, what is it? See, when it comes like this, you have the ridges here, and these are continuous, there is no gap in between. So in progressive, you notice that there is development of gap in between. In classical, it is continuous, the ridges. Okay, I'll show you the diagrams. And orbits are less rounded, here it is more rounded, because in humans it is more rounded. You can see zygomatic bone, it is flat, there it's cutting, so it's not flat over here, it is cutting. And nose, coming to ramus, rami, yesterday I showed you the ramus, right? The plural form of it is ami, right? So this is ramus. And if you can see the teeth, here it's always large in classical variety, not always large. And then body built, it is medium, because humans are medium, like they are more closer to us. And then you have face, which is long and prognathic, here it is medium to short. So overall what you can say is that progressive variety is more closer to humans. Now the similarities between them, we have seen the differences, but there will be some similarities as well. Vertebral column was short in both, and at the same time ribs were strong, indicating strong thorax. And then you have humor bone, what do you call, where do you see the humor? I told you on the day one, it is very important to know the body parts very well, right? Just go through and let me know. And then you have radius, ulna, right? Right. See, this is with respect to radius and ulna, right? And then you have the bones with respect to other body part, that is showing some similarities. So you need to remember certain similarities and the differences, because question will be differentiate between the classical and progressive Neanderthals physical features. So when they ask you to differentiate, you need not write only differences, you should add some similarities also. And what is the life expectancy? 40 years. So you can see this is classical variety. Here brow ridges are heavy and it is continuous. You don't see a gap, and it is little prognathic as well. You can show the prognathism by little extension also, because see whatever the diagrams that are given, it may not show the exact representation, but you can draw in the exam that showing that it is little prognathic, so that examiner can easily recognize the difference between the two skulls. And teeth are larger. When you are drawing the teeth also, the teeth should show the difference, that in the progressive teeth should be little smaller compared to classical one. If you show it of same size, again you are not drawing the diagram in line with what you have written. Okay, see here teeth are smaller in size, right? It's little round, and compared to, what do you call, the classical variety, the receding is less here, right? And then you have to highlight the feature of brow ridges, at the same time coming to the teeth, which is very much visible, and the prognathism. These are the three things which can be seen from the skull, right? Then coming to the cultural characteristics, see again, we'll try to recall once. In Neanderthal, what are the important features? Cranial capacity, brow ridges, cephalic index, vault of the skull, these all you can write directly, you need not remember anything. Okay, so supraorbital ridges, large and continuous, there is separation. Orbits, they are less rounded here, they are better rounded or more rounded. And coming to upper jaw, here it is projecting, upper jaw is projecting, and here it's not projecting. So these are the things that you have to keep in mind. And then zygomatic bone, there it is fractured. Okay, so it is cutting, and here it is not. Here it is flat. So it's like, it looks like it is cutting and it's fractured here. And then you have the teeth, which is large here, there it's small. So these things, if you can remember, it's good enough. And see, life expectancy, height, weight, rib size, humor, fingers, radius, these all things you can show the similarities. Then cultural characteristics, see again I am telling you with respect to body parts, just go make an assignment that try to write it on your own, because if you know this well, this unit of 1.6 and 1.5 are very easy. The problem is that not knowing the body parts. Okay, so here I told you that new kind of tool technique has evolved, that is Mousterian tool technique. What is this Mousterian tool technique? See, now they have become more intelligent. When they have become more intelligent, they'll try to make specialized tools, right? They were using a technique known as Levallois technique. Now what they'll do, first they'll take the core, this is a stone. What I'll do is that I want a flake of specific shape. Previously whatever is coming they were taking, or they were making the hand axe. Now they were using flakes. Okay, these flakes were made from a core. Now you will take a core. What you will do, you will try to first make it smooth. You will make the edges prepare, so that when you hit, you are getting a core tool of, sorry, flake tool of your own predetermined nature. So what you think is that I want of triangular shape or rectangular shape or so and so shape. Now what I'll do, I'll take the core, I'll prepare it. So I'll prepare it. So I'll remove one chip, small chips using the other stone tool, and I'll prepare it. Okay, I'll make it better, and then I'll hit it so that the flake comes out. So this is the Levallois technique. In the Levallois technique, only one flake tool will come out. And in the Mousterian one, instead of one, you can get many. Okay, so see, in the Levallois technique, you are preparing the core. In the Mousterian tradition, you won't prepare the core much. Okay, you'll just get it ready, but you won't prepare it much. You'll just remove the edges, and then you'll start getting the flake tools of your own deserved style. Okay, so here it becomes one of the latest technology or one of the finest technology to get flakes. Now what happens, this is of middle Paleolithic period. The evolution, sorry, it's of during the lower Paleolithic period. Whom do you have? Homo erectus. During the middle Paleolithic period, you have Homo neanderthals, and in the upper Paleolithic period comes Homo sapiens. Right. So now you need to understand here that in the middle Paleolithic period, they were able to produce more number of tools from single stone. Previously, from one core, they were able to make only one flake. So I told you Levallois technique, you prepare everything and you will get one flake. Now they are able to get more number of flakes. So they evolved in terms of technology as well. So they have become more intelligent. Now when you evolve in terms of technology, what happens? You will be able to reap more energy. from the environment, right? So we have seen it in neo-evolutionism, right? So energy per capita capturing or the technology E into T is C, right? So evolution of culture is dependent either on the per capita energy consumption or the evolution of technology. So the cultural evolution is happening over here, right? So the flake tool industry of the Mousterian tool technology was accompanied by Neanderthal skeletal remains. So there you have found it, the Mousterian version. You need not write all these things, but you'll remember, right? So what was the earlier Homo habilis, old one tools, and that is chopper chopping. Then you have hand axes in Homo erectus. Now you have the flake tool tradition. That too, some Mousterian technique. Next, Mousterian technology. Then you have cave dwelling, right? So as the ice sheets descended into North European plains in the late Pleistocene epoch. So what happens during the Mesolithic period? You notice the change of temperatures altogether. So that starts the Holocene period. So this is the late Pleistocene period going on. So here ice is receding. So when the ice recedes, what happens? People used to live comfortably in the winters. Okay. Now you can see that they built tents for warming and cooking, and this is evident in many of the places. Okay, Shanidar, Iraq, and you can also notice that in Zaukadia, China. In Middle Paleolithic period, you have noticed with respect to other fossils that they were using windshields. Okay, at that point of time only, even before Neanderthals. Now they are more evolved, so they have started making the tents for themselves, and to keep them warm, they are having a distinct hearth. Hearth means the place where continuously the fire is kept on, right? So now to keep themselves warm, which is made up of charcoal, they are using the hearth. You know charcoal, right? Even today we use that, right, in rural areas. And then there has been tools that have been found which looks like burins. It's called as burin. Burin means how to show it, like here a needle kind of thing can be seen. So these kind of tools, okay, the fullest evolution did not happen with respect to them, but you can see that made up of bone tools, needle kind of structures have been found, which shows that they have used clothing. Okay, so in certain areas, bone needles were used for making the cloth, and they tailored the cloth according to the glacial climate. Okay, so burins were exactly the ones that they were using in the next coming periods, blades and burin technique. Now here it is flake tool. Okay, in the next level there comes blades and burins. So burins were used for making the holes and stitching, but at this point of time they were using the bone needles, which is not exactly of the higher nature, but here they are doing the stitching according to their demands using the bone needles. Okay, so that's a higher technology which comes at later point of time. But here with respect to Neanderthal fossil, you need to understand that it is used for, it is used as bone needles is used as tool to stitch the cloth. At the same time, what could have been the cloth? It is of the skin only, right? The skin of the animals. They did not find any material, cloth kind of material that we are making today. Rather, which is used to protect the body is called as cloth, right? So now they made that using the skin of the animals, and now they are making the cloth depending upon the glacial climate. If it is very harsh, very cold, then they'll use thicker skins. If it is normal, they'll use thinner skins, right? So accordingly, they are stitching, and so from there we can find. And you have found the bear cult. Okay, so in number of places, skulls of the bear has been found, and it is put on a rectangular lined pit covered with enormous stone slabs. So wherever the burial has happened, on that burial, enormous stone slabs has been placed, and on that you have bear skulls. Okay, so that means it was a ritual that might have been present, and they might have also believed in some life after death, right? That is the reason they are trying to perform certain rituals. Next, burials, I have already told you. So if they are put on the pit covered with so many stone slabs and the burial, that means obviously burials are there. So burials were practiced, and burials were accompanied by offerings. So believing that maybe they might have life after death. So their tools has to go with them itself. So that's why they have kept their offerings also. Okay. So in Shanidar cave of Iraq, it showed the remains of handicapped man in a bed of flowers. Clear? So this is with respect to Neanderthal culture features. Then tool culture, I have explained it in detail. So this is with respect to tool culture, which you can go through. And then you have phylogenetic position. In phylogenetic position, you have pre-sapien models, sapien models. You can look here that it is called as pre-sapien model. Pre-sapien model given by Wallace. Here, they are not including the Neanderthal in the line of modern man, right? So they are called as pre-sapiens, like they were present before the evolution of Homo sapiens. So this model requires the Swanscombe and Steenheim to have separate lineage leading to modern man. So there were fossils that has been found at Swanscombe, okay, and Steenheim. So don't worry about what are they. So they say that these are the two skulls which further evolved and separate from the Neanderthal, and from where the Homo sapiens have come. So this is the view. Did we accept this? No. Then you have early Neanderthal model given by Clark and the Howell. So what do they say? There is Homo erectus. From the Homo erectus, different fossils have evolved. One is Solomon. Okay, the Solomon, again it is found along the river Solo. So there was one fossil, and based on that they gave the name Solomon. But again, how do you relate it to the phylogenetic status? You should not be concerned much, because this is a field science and evolving science. There is no constant fact. Okay, so whether this is right or this is wrong, it keeps on changing. The facts keeps on changing. So don't come to any conclusion. Just know that there are 3-4 varieties of saying about it, and just mention in the exam. That's your duty. Okay, don't bother about whether this is true, whether this is false. Don't get into the details, because there are around 15 to 20 theories so far now with respect to Neanderthal evolution. So which thing are you going to remember? So we are going to know one or two previous ones and the one or two latest ones. That's it. So you see this early Neanderthal model which says that, see, Homo erectus is evolving into different at different places. The Rhodesian man in one place in Europe, and then here Swanscombe and Steenheim. Then it evolves into progressive, from progressive comes the Homo sapiens and the classical. So people don't believe at all that from the progressive classical evolved, right? So even if you say that first classical have come and from there Homo sapiens and progressive, people may accept, right? But anyhow, they have given this phylogenetic status and we just go through, right? Here they are considering it as a Neanderthal, early Neanderthal model. Pre means that they are completely separate, so Neanderthals are in different line, and here though they are in the similar line, from progressive it diverged. Then you have Homo erectus sapiens model. So it is believed that classical completely evolved differently from the Homo erectus, and there comes Swanscombe and Steenheim, then progressive, then from progressive Neanderthal. There is no separation here. Previously what happened, this classical Neanderthal man was evolving from progressive, right? So that is by Howell and Clark, but here it is completely separate. This is Homo erectus sapiens model. Then how did they become extinct? See, there are 3 varieties. You write all those varieties, that is sufficient. Don't try to get into the nitty-gritties of this phylogenetic status. It will make you confused, and at the same time you will end up writing nothing in the exam. So whatever is being given, try to just know it and try to produce it in the exam. Okay, and at the end we'll write conclusion that Human Genome Project has found and or the genetic material which shows the interbreeding. So that means that they both existed at a particular point of time, they interbred and both separated. Okay, Neanderthals have gone extinct for the reason that they could not compete Homo sapiens, question mark, or they could not sustain the environment, question mark, or they are specialized to a particular diet, question mark. So these are all the various questions that you have, like how did they go extinct? What could be the reason? Because from the evidence it has been seen that some amount of genetic material is found. So there is interbreeding. So when they have interbred, did they completely become new species after interbreeding? After interbreeding, they might evolve into new species together. Did that happen? This has not been accepted that they evolved further. Homo neanderthals, Homo sapien neanderthals evolved further is not accepted by many of the scientists. But what they accept is that for some period of time there might be little interbreeding in some cases, but Neanderthal got extinct. So what are the different theories? One is physical extermination theory. That means the Homo sapiens went and they have exterminated, they have removed them altogether. And these people could not compete the Homo sapiens because they are more evolved. Right? This is one. So less chance to the Neanderthals to exploit the nature and survive because they were not as equipped as the Homo sapiens to deal with the nature better. This is physical extermination. First is physical extermination, right? So that these people went, invaded there, and they got vanished. And next is competitive exclusion theory. So now both have come, okay, and they were competing in one space, in one area, they're competing for the same resources. Gauss exclusion principle, right? If you're aware, Gauss exclusion principle, which we have read in 1.4, that now they're competing here in same ecological conditions. Whoever has an advantage and who is dominating, they'll survive, other will become extinct. So that is what the competitive exclusive theory. Then you have over specialization. So when you are more specialized for cold climates, when the temperature changes, you will become extinct. That is other theory, over specialization theory. Then total assimilation theory, that more people of Homo sapiens evolved and invaded the Neanderthal territory. They inbred the Neanderthals, so there was interbreeding, and the genes were completely mixed under the Homo sapiens. Now, Homo sapien Neanderthals did not become extinct. Rather, they were assimilated into Homo sapiens. And the genetics of the Homo sapiens is so wide or varied and diverse, only some part of the Neanderthal was able to be present within the Homo sapiens. This is the view of total assimilation theory. So these are the various opinions that has been expressed with respect to extinction of or phylogenetic status of Neanderthals. You can see here interbreeding, did it happen? So when you see Europeans and Asians, Europeans and Asians, you see 1 to 4% of Neanderthal DNA. And I told you in Africa, you don't see the Neanderthal DNA. So this suggests that humans have interbred with the Neanderthals after moderns left Africa, but before they spread to Asia and Europe. So what they believe is that in Africa, Homo sapiens evolved and they went to Europe, European region. There they first interbred with the Neanderthals, and then they went spread across Asia and Europe. This is what they are saying, that right. So this suggests that modern humans bred with the Neanderthals after they left Africa. So they left Africa, they bred, and then they spread to the Asia and Europe. So before spreading, they interbred with the Neanderthals. This is what the various theories and various discoveries of new fossils, new understanding from the articles. Okay, I have just given you the conclusions of those articles instead of mentioning everything. Okay, so this is what they are trying to say, and most likely the location is Levant. Where did they undergo this interbreeding? The region is Levant region, where both the species coexisted for thousands of years, between 50 to 90,000 years ago. So they might have stayed together for some years, some thousands of years. And where did they reside? That place, it is considered as Levant. Levant region, you know, right? It is in the Middle East. Okay, so then Rhodesian man I have given separately as well. If you notice the phylogenetic status, okay, so some researchers include Rhodesian man specimen within the Homo heidelbergensis. Then I told you, right, there was one fossil found at Rhodesia. So here it is again further explained in detail with respect to Rhodesian man. So whether to include within Homo heidelbergensis and to not is a question mark. So that's why I gave you separately. Even if they ask you Rhodesian man separately, you should be able to write. This is with respect to Rhodesian man. We have seen Australopithecus, Homo erectus. Within Homo erectus, we have seen Homo ergaster, then Java man, Pekinensis. Then we have also seen Homo heidelbergensis. Then we have seen Neanderthals, classical and progressive. Then Rhodesian man, which is either to include under Homo heidelbergensis or separate. So you will be seeing. Then Homo sapiens is the last one which is left within this chapter. So there you have Cro-Magnon, Grimaldi, and Chancelade. These are the three varieties which you have to remember. So for these three, I'll better give you a table. Okay, so what happens is that it's very difficult to remember all these fossils. So I have made a table. So just by going through this table, you will be able to understand the required information. Okay, just So you can see here. Cro-Magnon, Grimaldi, and Chancelade. Should I further zoom it? Right, these are the three varieties. So discovery, where did it found? Where did they find? So this Cro-Magnon is found at a cave known as Cro-Magnon cave by Louis Lartet in France. And what are the skeletons that are being found? 5 skeletons have been found, and 2 adult men, one old man, one woman, and one infant. Okay, so these are the fossils, and they have similarities with modern Caucasoids. So when we study racial classification, there we'll be looking at that people across the world are classified into 3 races: Caucasoids, Mongoloids, and Negroids. Right. So they are similar to Caucasoids. And you can notice the technology and time period. I told you Homo sapiens have come by the upper Paleolithic period. So upper Paleolithic period, and they have a culture known as Aurignacian culture. See, don't get into the details of Aurignacian culture because that's archaeology, and again, when anyhow we have to discuss in detail what are the features of Aurignacian culture. Just remember that these fossils belong to Aurignacian culture. Then what are the cultural features? You found that some art has been done, female figurines have been found. They lived in rock shelters and pit dwelling, and at the same time ivory tools have been found along with the Cro-Magnon. Ivory, we are aware, right? Elephant tooth. Okay, and then bone and stone tools, cave paintings, hand axes and handles. Okay, so these are all have been noticed, and from the figurines it can be understood that there is some kind of magico religious practices that might have been present. So this is with respect to cultural features. And then you have cranial features: skull, which is having cranial capacity of 1550 cc, and pentagonal skull. Pentagonal skull means you can notice that it is having 5 notches kind of thing, that if you see, like, you draw the pentagon, right? So when you draw a pentagon, you have a separation in between, right? So when you see the skull also, you can see that pentagonal kind of parietal tuberocytes. So you notice that change in shape while you are moving. Okay, that is pentagonal skull due to parietal tuberocytes. Okay, and the skull is narrow. Occiput is bulged a little. Okay, bulged occiput is noticed, and doliocephalic. Again, doliocephalic, brachiocephalic. These all you will be able to understand when you study it in detail. So this is based on the indexes. Okay, so your skull and facial index, cranial index and facial index, they'll give some ratios, and based on this, based on those ratios, if it falls between so and so ratio, then it is dolio. If it falls between so and so ratio, then it is brachio. So don't worry about it. Just know that the index, because you can't remember them now without understanding it in detail. When we see races, you will automatically write this point. So now if you try to put energy on this in remembering or understanding, then it's again waste of energy. Okay. How the facial features are present? I told you till the Homo sapiens chin won't appear. So here it is the well marked chin that is present. Supraorbital ridges are small, forehead is vertical. Okay. And then you can see the postcranial features, that is well developed linea aspera. Linea aspera, if you remember, I showed you the femur bone. Within the femur bone, there are 2 lines that are present on the femur bone. That is called as linea aspera. The reason is that to attach your muscles to the thigh bone, they'll help. Okay, so it is well developed here, and the bone texture indicates muscular individuals. So by seeing the bone, we can get to know that they are very strong individuals, and average height and weight you can see here. So this is with respect to Cro-Magnon. Then Grimaldi. So this is also a place where you found the fossil. Right. So where did you find Grimaldi village on Mediterranean coast, Italy? And here you can notice that woman of 30 years, boy of 15 years, they were stained in a red ochre, which implies intentional burial. So red ochre means they're stained in a red ochre means that ochre means it's a color, right? So now when they're stained, that means color has been added to these bodies, that which shows it's intentional. They have done it wantedly, believing something. Some belief might have been present, maybe some magico religious belief. So, and Grimaldi is similar to Negroids, and Professor Solas and Bowl link them with Bushmen and Hottentots of modern day, can be the direct descendants of Grimaldi. So today Bushmen and Hottentots are there, right? These are the tribes. So if you look at them, they might be direct descendants of Grimaldi according to them. Again, the culture, you know, this is Aurignacian and Upper Paleolithic. Tools are found. Cranial capacity is seen that, but lesser than that, 1250 to 1450. Okay, and sexual dimorphism is seen. See, these are all the factual things. Now you have to remember this table. Now nobody can do anything. How can you remember this table? The more number of times you visit it, the better you'll remember. That is the only way out. See, I tried to simplify till Neanderthals, but here I can't do anything because they have more similarities and very less differences. So I have tried to make a table so that it's easy for you to read. But one thing you can remember here is that with respect to culture, with respect to cranial capacity, right, and where they have been found, what fossils they have been found, some differences you can remember easily, but rest of the features, I think, without going into the minor details, it is not possible. So this picture I'll be uploading, so you can download, just go through it and just highlight that in one of them, that is Grimaldi, you don't notice the chin to be fully developed, rather it is poorly developed. Chin is there, but it is poorly developed. So some of the important features I have highlighted. Here the shaft of the femur is strongly bent in the Grimaldi. Okay, stature is short in both the cases, but here it is little tall. And coming to cranial capacity, there it was 1550, it decreases, and again in Chancelade, again it is very high, that is 1530 and 1710 in different places. So it is again in France, discovered in France. What has been found? They are similar to Eskimos, but culture, you can see this is Magdalenian culture. Magdalenian is a place again, and there they have found a kind of tools that is known as Magdalenian culture. So don't bother about cultures. Anyhow, we'll be doing it in very greater detail in archaeology. Tools have been found, and again the cranial and the postcranial features. These are the things which you have to keep in mind. And if you take a printout of this and daily 2 minutes, if you can go through in the morning, most of the things you'll remember. In other skulls, or sorry, in other fossils, it is easy to remember if you spend some half an hour. So fossils has to be revised continuously. Every 15 days you have to visit the fossils chapter, or else again it's gone. When you revisit continuously, hardly it will take 10 to 15 minutes to revise. But if you're not revising, later if you spend some 10-15 hours also before the exam, 10-15 hours, or you spend 5 days, then also you'll not write, because you won't recall anything. You'll get confused features of one fossil with the other. Right? This is with respect to Homo sapiens. Three varieties: Grimaldi, Chancelade, and Cro-Magnon. Any doubts in this? Neanderthals evolved from Homo erectus. With, see, Homo heidelbergensis, where did it come from? The everything was from Africa. So whether it went out of Africa at the stage of Homo erectus, that is multi-regional hypothesis. If it goes at the stage of Homo erectus, went to different places, evolved there differently in multi-regions. And other is out of Africa theory. First it became Homo sapiens here, then it went out. So if you see that interbreeding which we were discussing, it is believed that Homo sapiens developed in Africa and then it went out, then it interbred with the Neanderthals. That is the reason you notice some percentage of genetic material overlapping with the modern Homo sapiens. But there are a lot of contradicting theories. Based on mitochondrial DNA, it is believed that we are all having a common ancestor, because mitochondrial DNA, when I was telling you the first lecture, where you can notice that mitochondrial DNA comes from mother. It does not come from father, because in which is present in the sperm, the tail will cut off. So the mitochondrial part will not come in the zygote. Only mother's mitochondrial DNA will come. So now mitochondrial DNA highlights that only female side. So from there they studied the mitochondrial DNA in detail and they were able to tell that it is from one single place, we have one origin. But if you notice, the D.K. Bhattacharya, when we study archaeology, I'll be telling you that man in India. When we see the fossils, we notice the Homo erectus fossils, sorry, not, we don't find the fossils, Homo erectus tools, tool technology, based on the tool technology. So what was the tool technology of Homo erectus? It is hand axes. So when you notice the tool technology in India, it is found till the late period, somewhere around 30,000 years also. Do you think a species will remain unchanged for lakhs of years? Definitely evolution would have happened, and some kind of indigenous evolution would have happened. This was the view of D.K. Bhattacharya and other archaeologists. They believe that, okay, definitely what theory you are giving based on genetics might be true, but this also we cannot deny that the practice of the tool culture, which is of latest period of 30 to 40,000 years, belongs to million. See, Homo erectus started somewhere around some million years ago, right? So sorry, some lakhs of years ago, not million, some lakhs of years ago. So for lakhs of years, till the recent time, do you believe that Homo erectus did not evolve at all in India? So they say that definitely there would have been indigenous evolution within India. So this is the view. But anyhow, we'll discuss all these things in a better manner when we do archaeology. Okay, so don't bother about it. But for now, what you need to understand is that different fossils and what are the features you have to write when you write an answer. First, you should know where it has been discovered, by whom it has been discovered, when it has been discovered, what is the associated tool technology with it, what are the cranial features, what are the post-cranial features, what are the cultural features, and what is the phylogenetic status. So these are all the subheads which you have to keep in mind when you are writing the answer. And try to talk in a descriptive manner wherever it is possible. Don't write like points. In some cases, because of finding of the evidence of fire, you talk it in a descriptive way, that see, because of availability of fire, there could have been more time spent together because of long hours, that could have led to the better social organization. Instead of writing there is fire, there is social organization, interlink things and write so that it's more explanatory in nature. If you want to know it in better details, I've already told you one of the website, that's Mythnosian website. You can go there, you can read, and they'll tell you how they have survived. There is a one section that how they survived. So then you read that, you can use the information that we have given and you write it in that format, that will fetch you more marks compared to writing it directly. Okay. So this is with respect to fossils, and we'll be starting unit 9 on Saturday. So I'll be taking a class on Saturday morning. So tomorrow, day after tomorrow, take off and try to revise all these fossils, or else it will vanish it in no time. It will vanish in no time, because these are all factual things. First, you have to sit, look at it properly, analyze it, then try to have some recall, though entirely it's not possible for anyone. Don't expect it, because what happens is student will sit once, he'll read twice, and then he'll start saying that I am not able to recall. Nobody will be able to recall this information, because we are humans, we have our own limitations. So either you should participate in memory techniques competition to remember this, then you lose entire UPSC. So need not remember everything here. So whatever the features where you can remember logically, try to remember. Where you can't, you can ignore, and just try to look at it. See, one of the important feature of the brain is that it will remember if there are neurological connections. If you are having logical connections, why we call it logic, neurology, from that word only it comes logic, right? So there is some connections, then it will remember, or it is seeing it repeatedly. So when you pass through a way and you notice something regularly, even without trying to remember, it will be present and you will be able to recall. So the same is the case which should work for fossils and archaeology, that you don't try to use any logic, because there is no logic there. Wherever there is a trend, you will remember, but rest of the things, by frequent revisions or frequent revisiting of what you have done, that will help you recall. So try to do this, which will help you finish your fossils. Did you face any difficulty in fossils? Because in some of the areas it's factual, but wherever possible I have tried to give you the trends rather than putting it more factual in nature. Because tool technology, you know how it evolved, time period, you know, cultural technology, cultural parts, you know, like how it has changed. Only thing what you have to remember here is that the physical part, the physical features, skull and the cranial and post cranial features you have to remember. Rest of the features, they're logical, right? So that's all for today. Thank you. Yeah. See, some questions will be out of the box. There, if you are able to present the basic, that's more than sufficient. Because even if you prepare and go, you won't be able to present. That is one thing you should understand, that in many of the areas, even if you prepare, still you won't be able to present. So you should know just how to deal it and give a better performance than your counterparts. 1 point more than them, that is sufficient. A little better performance compared to them. You need not be exceptional in those kind of questions, right? If I have to tell you seriously, no anthropology faculty also knows that whether they have to divide it into progressive and classical, because the thing is that it's a subjective matter of paleontologists who are working since years. Even they are not clear. How can somebody who is just teaching for the purpose of an exam can know it? Or if teacher is not aware, then the student obviously, maybe one person, if they have read some article, some relevant information, but full complete conclusion, it is not even available in the research papers. So that is generalistic conclusion only. What you can say is that one way we have to do it, in the other way that if you are trying to do it on the basis of it, like there are many similarities between the both of them, that means you are ignoring, and you are looking at only morphological features, you are not taking into consideration environmental and other features. So these critical parts, we can't say it's so critical because we are not sure, we are trying to make some generalization only. Okay, so if you are writing the other angle, it's okay, but be very careful that it is not contradicting with any of the points that you are mentioning. Okay, because sometimes what happens, we try to make some conclusion, but which is not true in reality, right? So you should be very careful. And exceptional questions, I think once you are very perfect with all these things, then it would be better to deal. Okay, once you cover all your basic areas, get hold on them. Once you are having command over the basic part and all the PYQs that you have, then exceptional questions you can deal one after the other. So in this search of exceptional questions, what happens is that many times we lose the hold on the existing ones. Tomorrow we don't know that which area they're going to ask a question that is going to be exceptional. So now you put energy on one area, and tomorrow if they don't ask, then again it's waste of time. Okay, so during the enrichment classes, I think I'll cover this in detail. But now I think foundation students will be scared if you are discussing in those details, because it's all research papers only. There is nothing to tell from any of the book. Directly I have to take the research paper, show you so and so person is saying so and so this, so and so person is saying so and so, but both the things have been countered and still we are in the question mark. This is the answer. But now the 7, 8 names if I'm going to use, it is going to just confuse you. Okay.